Hello, welcome to another episode of the Fisher Fitness Coaching Podcast. We are at episode number 73. So this episode came about because I've had probably about three people asking me, not asking me, but basically advising me, not even advising me, I don't know what I'm talking about, telling me that they are trying to lose body fat, trying to lose fat around the belly, trying to see their six-pack, trying to get a leaner stomach, because let's face it, most people do want that. And they've basically been saying that they've been eating clean and they're not seeing any change. Which sort of got me thinking, it's still a very popular misconception that in order to get lean, lose body fat, get ripped, see more muscle definition, see a six-pack, you just need to eat clean foods. So what is clean foods? So these are generally foods which aren't seen as junk foods. They're healthy, whole foods, vegetables, lean meats, nuts, seeds, non-beigey foods, non-junk, no chocolate, all that stuff. Basically all the nice, tasty foods is seen as unclean or dirty foods. And to lose fat, you simply need to eat clean foods. And it's just, it's not the case at all. And when I tell them this, it's like they seem shocked. So my response is always, well, you can still gain fat by eating nothing but clean foods, and you can still lose fat by eating junk food, nothing but junk food. So you can lose fat, you can get lean by eating nothing but chocolate and ice cream and cake. It's more challenging, and you're going to feel pretty shit because you're going to get bugger all nutrition from it, but you can still do it because that's just how science works. That's how energy balance works. So I just thought I'd do a quick podcast on it because I think it'd be quite useful. And it goes into, and I'll touch on the importance of tracking calories, because that's what matters when it comes to fat loss and getting lean. Is energy balance, is calories in versus calories out. That's the most important thing. Without that, without a negative energy balance, without consuming less calories than you burn consistently, you won't lose fat. So yeah, I mean, let's start off with why or where this sort of myth first came from. Obviously, I think because a lot of people still think that junk foods, carbs, ultra processed foods cause fat gain, when it doesn't. The only thing that causes fat gain is if you consume more calories than you burn on average. That's the only thing that causes fat gain. So a positive energy balance is called. And on the flip side of that, the only thing that causes fat loss is a negative energy balance. So like I said before, you can literally eat nothing but junk food and still lose fat. And you can eat nothing but clean food and still gain fat. So the main reason why people aren't seeing any results, aren't getting leaner, aren't seeing any visible changes in their physique when all they're doing is eating clean, is because they're simply consuming more calories than they think. It's so easy to, let's say you're like an average guy, right? An average guy, my height, sort of my age. The average calorie maintenance is around 2,500. So my maintenance calories is 2,500 calories, right? Which means if I was to consume more than 2,500 calories consistently, I would gain fat. Those calories, your body doesn't care where those calories come from. It doesn't care that it comes from healthy meats and vegetables and fish, rice, pasta, nuts, all that kind of stuff, the good healthy foods. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care that it comes from chocolate, crisps, cake, sweets, whatever. All it knows is the amount of calories it consumes in relation to the amount of calories the body burns. Right? So it's so easy to overconsume on calories by eating clean food. And that's why people are struggling with fat loss when they're not tracking, because they have no idea how many calories they're consuming. Let's take a very basic but healthy or clean, quote unquote, meal. So we can go, I don't know, a steak, for example, with some rice and a load of vegetables, right? Visually, you see that. You zoom out, yeah, very clean, very healthy meal, right? You don't see what else is in there, so you don't see the extra fat on the steak, which is quite high in calorie. You don't see, and yeah, let's pretend that there's some oil on the vegetables, for example, because oil makes taste. Oh God, oil makes food taste good. So people put on there a couple of teaspoons or tablespoons of olive oil. That's a couple 100 calories already. And if you really fancy, crush up some cashew nuts or whatever, and sprinkle it on top of whatever. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. But you got a handful of cashew nuts. You got a steak. You got rice. You got some beans or whatever vegetables, broccoli, and you got some olive oil. That's a high calorie meal, even though it's clean. That's still, you're talking a good sort of 700-800 calories in that meal. I guarantee it. Maybe even more. You do that 3-4 times a day. That's almost 3,000 calories easily, and that's just Monday to Friday. So the main issue is people not tracking their food. There's no food awareness. People have no idea how much energy that there is in certain foods, and oils and butters and liquids and stuff. People have no food awareness, which is why tracking is so useful, so important, because it increases food awareness. Not to mention increases accountability as well. So people actually can actually see on paper what they're consuming, and then they get an idea of, oh, actually, I'm eating a lot more than I thought. And also that moving on from that, it's about restriction. Too much restriction going on. So people think that they can't have these delicious junk foods, ultra processed, highly palatable foods in their diet, because they think it's going to cause fat gain, or at least think it's not going to help towards them getting a six-pack or whatever, or getting leaner. But it does help. In fact, I would argue that it actually hinders your progress if you restrict all these foods, because they taste delicious, right? And if you're restricting a food group or a certain foods, then you're going to want them more. It's going to be a stage where you can't live a healthy, happy, relaxed life eating nothing but chicken, broccoli, and rice and potatoes and stuff. You're going to need some other stuff in there. You're obviously a sociable person. What about weekends? What about when you go out for dinner? What about birthdays, Christmases? If you can't just not have these foods in your diet. I mean, you can if you really want to, but that's not a good way to live. Food brings pleasure, right? Food should be enjoyed. All food should be enjoyed. And this is why I always go by the sort of 80-20 guideline, which I always mention. So, and that's the thing. If people think these foods are going to cause fat gain, they avoid them. So, and what tends to happen is people think, right, Monday I'm going to eat clean, I'm going to eat really well, 3 clean meals a day, a couple of clean snacks here and there, a handful of nuts, some dried fruit or whatever, some yogurt, because it's quote unquote clean, not tracking anything, not tracking portion sizes. So people eat more food than they need, and more food than they think. People's portion sizes are way too big. They're a lot bigger than they should be having. Hence why this whole clean eating thing doesn't often lead to fat loss. So as to portion sizes, again, without tracking, you're not going to realize um, how well portioned your meals should be. And this is one of the benefits of tracking, is you get to see a pretty decent, well portioned meal within your calorie range, within your calorie budget. And it's obviously it's I guarantee it's a lot smaller than you think, depending on the food choices, obviously. So yeah, go back to the restriction side of things. So people start Monday, they eat clean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, they're sick of this clean food because they haven't allowed themselves any of these nice foods. So they think, oh well, I've eaten really well Monday to Thursday. It's Friday, it's the weekend. I'm going to treat myself to a nice, massive Domino's pizza and some Domino's cookies. And that's the Friday night. And that's like 4,000 calories. Saturday, they think, oh, well, it's a nice day. I'm going to go out and have a few pints. I'm going to enjoy a burger and chips at a pub. I'm going to go out for a roast on a Sunday and have a dessert. So again, there's no tracking. There's no there's no tracking. It's all or nothing approach. Go out the weekends and enjoy their food, and they consume like 6, 7, 8,000 calories in a weekend. And then they're pissed off when they weigh themselves on a Monday and they've gained weight. So this cycle happens again and again. They start eating clean on Monday, go all the way through to Thursday. They restrict too much. They get pissed off with the boring food they're eating, and they're still not losing weight because they haven't tracked and their portion sizes are too big. And they don't realize that it's the calories they're consuming and not the actual types of food they're eating, you know? So it all, as you can see, it starts to build this. It's like a vicious circle. It's just a constant rinse and repeat sort of situation where, you know, eat clean weekday and then overeat weekends, eat clean. It's just constant. So then you can imagine the frustration that builds up over time, when people think they're eating really clean and eating really healthy and they're not losing any fat, and they're training hard, and they're training harder than they ever have before. They're training every day. And then that's not to mention going into energy compensation. When you train harder, you tend to move less throughout the rest of the day because your body's trying to conserve the energy you're burning during the hard workouts. And that's a different podcast. That's going into something completely different. So again, there's this massive amount of frustration just builds up, and then before you know it, they give up. They think, well, fuck it. What's the point? What's the point of me eating clean during the week? I can't, something's broken. I'm broken. My metabolism's broken. I'm too old. Whatever. And all these excuses just come flooding in, and they blame themselves. They convince themselves they can't lose body fat. It's happened to me before. I've convinced myself that I can't lose body fat, or they convince themselves to go into starvation mode, quote unquote, which isn't a thing. It's simply because people are consuming too many calories, more calories than they think, in relation to how much they need. So, in summary, track your food, track what you're eating. You don't have to track forever. You don't have to track, for the rest of your days. You can literally track for 2 weeks. Track what you're eating for 2 weeks on a tracking app like NutriCheck, My Macros, Macro Factor, Chronometer. I wouldn't use MyFitnessPal because it relies on user data entry, and that's often quite inaccurate. So any of those 4 I mentioned are pretty decent. So download it on your phone, start tracking, start scanning your food, start weighing your food, and start understanding how much. Oh, Charlie, God, he gave me a fright. Jesus. So, sorry, my cat just jumped up in front of me without any warning, and it's he's a big cat, as you probably seen. What are you doing, Charlie? Poor cat. It's like 30 degrees outside, and he's obviously a big fluffy cat, so he's probably struggling. He's going to lie down right in front of my laptop. Excellent. Right. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So start tracking your food for 2 weeks. Start weighing out your food. I guarantee you'll find it interesting. Like, it's not obsessive, it's not dangerous, it's not bad. It's very good for fat loss. And when you start tracking your food, you'll start to then over time realize you have been consuming too many calories, You can even then start to add in tasty foods like chocolate bars and ice cream and crisps and stuff into your diet and still lose body fat. So imagine that, still eating all these nice tasty foods during the week and weekend, still getting lean and seeing visible abs or seeing your physique change finally. If you want to know how much or how many calories you need to be consuming, then there's loads of calorie calculators online you can Google, but go onto my Instagram and DM me with the word macro, just word macro, and then you'll get a series of questions sent back to you, and then you just basically answer those questions, and it will give you your own bespoke personal calories, your protein, your carbs and fats, which you can follow. And you simply just track your food, track your meals, and don't go over those calories consistently, and voila, you will lose fat. You'll start to see visible abs. You'll start to get leaner, feel better, and then finally realize that, okay, you are not broken. You're not broken. You're actually seeing the results you want after all this time. So yeah, anyway, I think I went off on one then a little bit, didn't I? I don't think I've missed anything out. So yeah, summarize, just start tracking, even if it's rough. Awareness beats guessing every single time. Get your calories, use a calorie calculator or DM me macros to find out your own personal calories and macros. Make sure you include the foods you enjoy so you don't lose your mind by, week 2. And then also don't reward yourself with like weekend binges after a few days of clean eating. It hasn't been helping you up to this point, and it won't help you going forward either. In terms of training, don't feel like you have to burn loads of calories to lose fat in the gym. Don't start going to loads of group training sessions, High Rocks, CrossFit, all these sessions to try and burn as many calories as possible. It doesn't work like that. You'll end up burning less overall because of energy compensation. You'll end up feeling hungrier. You'll end up rewarding yourself with tasty food and all this sort of stuff. It's very, very complex. Like fat loss in principle is easy, but on a deeper level, it's complex. It's emotional. It's there's a lot of psychology behind it. In terms of training, you just need to train to build muscle. Train 2, 3, 4 times a week. Trying to get strong in the gym and try and build as much muscle as possible. And keep active. Keep active daily. Keep your steps up, 8,000-10,000 steps a day. Depending on what you do now, if you do an average of 3,000 a day, then do 5,000 a day. Just keep your energy output up consistently throughout the day by giving yourself and sticking to a step target. And most importantly, be consistent at all this. Don't try and be perfect. It doesn't exist. Perfection does not exist. Try and be consistent 80% of the time. There is space for you to, enjoy yourself and go out and have a few beers the weekend and stuff. But as long as it's not every weekend, then you're good. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Any questions on any of this, please let me know. If you're needing help, if you're like in desperate need with help to lose body fat, get visible abs, get leaner, then I can help you out. This is why I created the Peak Physique Project program, because it helps guys like you get into awesome shape, get leaner, more muscular, and feel amazing topless. So yeah, if you want to find out more information about that, then please let me know on Instagram or email me or send me a text, whatever, WhatsApp, and I will get back to you. All right, cheers for listening, and I hope that helped. See you soon.